Well, I'm Fred Stratton. I'm from Milwaukee. I was a member of the board of INROADS Milwaukee, became board chair. Later was on the INROADS National Board and was board chair of the INROADS National Organization for a time. I was CEO of Briggs & Stratton Corporation. We make engines for lawnmowers and stuff like that. I acquired my job at Briggs & Stratton in a rather unusual way when my two predecessors died within a year of each other. One of whom was Vince Shealy, and he had been a member of the INROADS Milwaukee board since it was pretty new and probably from the beginning of INROADS Milwaukee. So after he died, Father Frank Carr and George Chester, who's another Milwaukee person involved in INROADS, came to see me and asked me if I would join the board, kind of in effect replacing Vince, and talked a little bit about INROADS and what INROADS was doing, and I liked that, so I agreed to. I agreed to join the board of INROADS Milwaukee. Being a board member of one of the INROADS chapters involves the usual board responsibility of keeping track of what's going on and being sure everything's being done properly. But of course, it's a little different with INROADS affiliates because the national board does a lot of that too. But I think the main job is to promote INROADS amongst the other members of the business community to try and increase the number of companies joining the program and hiring an intern, and then later, it is hoped, hiring a permanent employee. You know, being relatively young for my job, but still old compared to the kids. It was kind of a question of encouraging and giving advice would be my main responsibility. Well, a couple of things. One thing I have found in being a board member of a 501c3 charitable organization is, without exception, I believe I got more out of it, my experience, than I put in. And that was true for INROADS. I met a lot of interesting people that I probably would not have met under any other circumstance. And I would say that's the biggest thing that I got out of INROADS. One of my biggest memories was involved INROADS Milwaukee's effort to establish a younger program. We started out with the internship program, and because there weren't as many student applicants as there for a while, there was demand for the program. INROADS started the pre-college program to encourage kids in high school to take the courses that they would need to have in order to be attractive to business organizations. And that worked really well. But then we realized there was a problem getting young Black males into the pre-college program. So using logic, we thought if we adapted that same principle to kids in middle school. And so we started a program which we labeled the Young Leaders Academy, or the Youth Leadership Academy. I don't remember which was that program, and it worked pretty well. And we then, but it was not part of INROADS. It was something that we had started. So we asked the INROADS National Organization if they would adopt this program. And there was a lot of discussion about that at the national board level. But the decision was no, we wanted to focus on the original college program, the pre-college program, the college program, and they didn't think that INROADS should take on the program of the young black male problem. And that was just too big, and it might detract from efforts for the existing two programs. I was a little disappointed, but I can see the logic, and I think it probably was the right decision. But now we were left with that other program, so we had to figure out what to do about that. So we established that as a separate 501c3 organization. And it did okay, but not as well as it should have, which taught us the value of the INROADS National Organization's administrative help. I mean, we lacked that, and that turned out to be a problem. Eventually, the program was taken over by the YMCA in Milwaukee. And what's left of it today is a charter school. So it was, it was probably successful in that respect. But anyway, that was a major memory. And of course, all the people involved. The Milwaukee crew. I'm still good friends with Deborah Kenner, who was the second head of INROADS Milwaukee, and she is considered to be the mother of the Young Leaders Academy, and I'm considered to be the father of the Young Leaders Academy. And of course, who could forget Reginald Dixon, the original head of INROADS, and Charles Story, who succeeded Reginald Dixon, and Charles became a board member eventually of Briggs and Stratton. And there were a lot of other board members that are memorable, of course. Other board members are equals, and INROADS staff are employees. So there's a natural distinction. But actually, I actually had more fun with the INROADS staff in general than the other INROADS board meetings, although of course there are some exceptions to that, because INROADS had a group of really interesting, fun people. And so I always enjoyed getting together at both levels. But in some of the alumni activities, I got to spend time with the staff and former staff people rather than the board members, and I actually kind of preferred that. Well, I would say that this is the only board I was ever on that where we dealt with the majority of people we dealt with were African Americans. And as a broad generality, African Americans have different speech patterns and ways of expressing themselves. Now that's a broad generality. So I had to learn how to listen to that, and because some of the subtleties were different from people that the people that I had to deal with at board level. But otherwise, it was like every experience like that, you gather experience that helps you and as you move on to the next one. That at times that was a problem because the INROADS interns were to some degree, they were imposed upon the people, the departments that they worked with. Now, gradually that was overcome, and the kids were judged on their merit and contributions, which in our case, we had some really successful interns. And that disappeared with time, but they probably weren't the kids that without the implementer of INROADS they probably wouldn't have. So they needed to, the program encouraged them, and they learned. So it was, in that sense, it was quite successful. I think we got involved. Milwaukee was the third program. I think it was Chicago, St. Louis, and Milwaukee originally. And that would have been about 1978. And I believe we stayed in the program at least until the year 2000 or 2001. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's my impression. So we were in the program for quite a long time. And it's interesting, there are now people in the Milwaukee community doing really well who were INROADS interns. So the program was successful.